The Andromedan troops screamed in terror as swarms of 20-meter-tall beasts genetically engineered in secret on Earth tore through their battalions like they were made of paper. Heads went flying as the true military might of humanity was finally revealed. Just months earlier, Austin Rice had watched in disgust from the United Nations Assembly Hall as the arrogant alien warlord Janus demanded humanity's total surrender. "Your primitive weapons are no match for the might of the Andromedan Empire," Janus had boasted. "Surrender now and serve as our slaves or be annihilated." To Janus's shock, the human leaders just laughed in his grey, tentacled face. "Did you really think we'd show an alien scumbag like you what we're truly capable of?" the US president replied with a smirk. "We've been preparing for this day for decades." She nodded to her aides, who activated a hidden view screen. Janus's eyes widened as he saw footage of massive, snarling creatures called Titans being worked through training drills, each one capable of taking on an entire Andromedan platoon, single-handedly. Created in secret in underground labs to be the ultimate anti-alien bioweapon, they had been Earth's ace in the hole. Janus stormed out, vowing revenge. Now the day they had prepared for had arrived. As alarms blared and the first alien landing pods hit the ground, Austin gripped his plasma rifle tight and turned to face his squad of elite human commandos. "This is what we've trained for, boys. Time to send these alien fuckers crying back to Andromeda and show 'em why you don't mess with Earth." The squad roared a battle cry and charged out to meet the invaders head-on. In hidden bunkers around the world, the cages of the mighty Titans were being opened to unleash hell. The fate of humanity hung in the balance. They would win this day or die trying. Plasma bolts flew back and forth as Austin's squad breached the Andromedan command center. They took cover behind control consoles as Janus's elite guards returned fire. Austin popped up to take a few shots, dropping an Andromedan soldier, but more kept coming. His team was outnumbered and outgunned. Just as it seemed they might be overrun, a thunderous explosion shook the base to its foundations. The wall buckled and then burst open as a pack of massive Titans charged in, crushing Andromedan guards beneath their clawed feet. In the lead was Cerberus, a beast of a Titan, his hide crisscrossed with scars from many battles. Cerberus let out a bone-shaking roar and tore into the nearest group of Andromedans. His packmates followed suit, using their immense strength and razor-sharp claws to rip the aliens apart. Blue blood splattered the walls as the Titans made short work of Janus's soldiers. Janus's eyes widened in fear as he saw the tide turning against him. He turned to run, but Austin was hot on his heels, chasing the warlord through the chaos of the battle. Leaping over fallen bodies and smashed equipment, Austin closed the distance and tackled Janus to the ground. They grappled across the floor, trading vicious blows. Janus was strong, but Austin's fury gave him the edge. He thought of all the friends he'd lost, all the suffering the Andromedans had caused. With a final, brutal punch, he overpowered Janus and pinned the alien beneath him, ready to end things once and for all. But as he raised his fist for the final blow, Janus started laughing, a cruel, mocking sound. "You think you've won, human?" Janus spat, his tentacles writhing. "We have a virus, a plague that will wipe out your precious Titans. It's already spreading on your planet. Soon they'll all be dead and your world will be defenseless." Austin's blood ran cold at the revelation. He slammed Janus's head into the floor, knocking the warlord out cold, and immediately got on comms to relay the dire news to his superiors. The Andromedan base was theirs, but now they faced an even greater threat. If they didn't find a way to stop this virus, and fast, Earth would lose its most powerful defenders, and the war would be all but lost. Austin and his squad raced back to Earth, the unconscious Janus bound and secured in their custody. But as their ship entered the atmosphere, Austin's heart sank. The planet was in turmoil, smoke billowing from the ruins of once great cities. Reports flooded in from military command. The Andromedan virus was ravaging the Titans. The mighty beasts, humanity's last hope, were dying by the hundreds, their corpses littering the battlefields. Panic gripped the populace as the invaders pressed their advantage. In a secure holding cell, Austin slammed his fist on the table, glaring at the now conscious Janus. "How do we stop the virus?" he demanded. "What's the cure?" Janus only laughed, his tentacles writhing with glee. "You are finished, human. Your precious pets cannot save you now. Accept your fate." Austin's anger boiled over. He lunged at Janus but was held back by his squadmates. This was getting them nowhere. Desperate, Austin sought out Dr. Eliza Hoffman, the mastermind behind the Titans. He found her in her lab, dark circles under her eyes from countless sleepless nights. "Please tell me you have something, Doc," Austin pleaded. "Some way to stop this thing." Dr. Hoffman looked up from her microscope, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "I think I found a weakness in the virus's genetic structure, a chink in its armor. But to create an effective antidote, I need a sample of Andromedan blood, straight from the source." Austin's gaze hardened with resolve. "I'll get you that sample." He marched back to Janus's cell, his boots echoing on the metal floor. Janus rose to meet him, a smug grin on his alien face. "I challenge you, Janus, to single combat. A duel to settle this between us once and for all." Janus's eyes gleamed with malice. "I accept, human. Prepare to die." The two adversaries squared off in a reinforced containment chamber, armed guards watching tensely from behind shimmering energy barriers. Austin and Janus circled each other like caged animals, seizing each other up. Then they clashed in a whirlwind of violence, Janus's tentacles lashing, Austin's fists flying. They traded earth-shattering blows, blood spattering the sterile white floor. Austin felt ribs crack, tasted copper on his tongue, but he fought through the pain, driven by pure adrenaline and force of will. Janus was a formidable opponent, his strength inhuman. He battered Austin across the chamber, slamming him into walls with bone-jarring force. Austin's vision swam, darkness creeping in at the edges. Janus loomed over him, victorious, savoring the kill. But Austin had one last desperate gambit. He waited, playing dead, until Janus lowered his guard for a split second. Then he struck like a coiled viper, a devastating uppercut to the Andromedan's jaw. Cartilage shattered. Janus toppled like a felled tree. Dr. Hoffman burst into the room, a syringe in hand. She plunged it into the unconscious Janus's neck, drawing a sample of viscous blue blood. "Got it!" As Dr. Hoffman raced back to her lab, the antidote humanity's last hope, Austin sagged against the wall, battered but unbroken. The war was not over yet. One last battle remained. He and his squad readied their weapons, steeling themselves for the final confrontation. In a secure bunker, Dr. Hoffman frantically analyzed Janus's blood sample, her brow furrowed in concentration as she searched for the key to creating an antidote to the deadly Andromedan virus ravaging Earth's Titans. Test tubes clinked and centrifuges whirred as she raced against the clock. Suddenly alarms blared through the command center. Austin looked up sharply from a holomap showing troop deployments as a communications officer shouted, "Urgent distress call from New Cascadia. They're under attack." "Put it through," Austin barked. A panicked voice crackled over the speakers, nearly drowned out by screams and explosions. "This is New Cascadia. We're under heavy assault by Andromedan forces. They've got some kind of mutant monsters tearing through our defenses. We can't hold them but—" The transmission cut to static. Austin slammed a fist on the console. He turned to his squad, their faces grim. "Gear up and get to the dropships. We're going in hot." As the ships tore through the ashen skies over New Cascadia, Austin stared out the viewport in disbelief at the devastation below. Buildings lay in rubble, fires raged unchecked, and in the streets, abominations born of twisted Andromedan science rampaged, attacking anything that moved. They had the hulking forms of titans, but were hideously distorted, with extra limbs and gaping maws filled with jagged teeth. The dropships touched down, and Austin led the charge into the fray, plasma rifle blazing. His squad fanned out, pouring fire into the mutant beasts. Civilians screamed as they fled the carnage. One of the creatures lunged at Austin, its misshapen claws shredding the air. He rolled aside, firing point-blank into its skull. Dark ichor sprayed as it fell, twitching to the shattered concrete. "Regroup at the plaza," Austin ordered over the comm. "We've got to hold them back." As his squad fought through the war-torn streets, Austin spotted a sleek Andromedan hovercraft floating above the battlefield like an armored wasp. A familiar grey-skinned figure stood on its deck, Zarion, Janus's second-in-command. The alien warlord surveyed the slaughter with cold satisfaction. White-hot anger surged through Austin's veins. He keyed his comm. "Command, I need air support at my location now. We've got to take out their leader." "Negative, Lieutenant. All birds are engaged. You're on your own." Gritting his teeth, Austin scanned the plaza and spotted a downed human strike fighter, the experimental Valkyrie class. He sprinted to the cockpit and wrenched the canopy open, praying the machine was still operational. Displays flickered to life as he strapped in and fired the engines. The Valkyrie roared into the sky on blue-white jets of flame, locking onto Zarion's hovercraft. "This ends now, you son of a bitch," Austin snarled, triggering the Valkyrie's mass drivers. Hypersonic slugs tore through the air, stitching a line of destruction across the hovercraft's hull. Zarion's ship banked hard, absorbing the hits on shimmering energy shields. It spat back a volley of plasma, scorching the Valkyrie's armor. Austin jinked and rolled, throwing his ship into a dizzying spiral around a half-collapsed skyscraper as Zarion pursued. Twisting and jinking, they dueled through the burning city, weapons flashing. Austin gripped the control yoke, his knuckles white as he pushed the Valkyrie to its limits. Warnings flashed across the HUD, shields critical, hull breaches, engine temperature redlining. Zarion's ship bore down on him, preparing for a killing blow. But as it loomed close, Austin spotted a flicker, a momentary drop in its aft shields, a weak point. With a last desperate maneuver, Austin wrenched the Valkyrie into a twisting climb, narrowly evading Zarion's barrage. He inverted at the apex, diving at the hovercraft from above. Pouring all power to engines and weapons, he lined up the shot. The Valkyrie's guns thundered, mass driver rounds punching through the gap in the hovercraft's shields to pierce its reactor. Zarion's eyes widened in shock as alarming klaxons blared through his ship. Seizing his chance, Austin armed the Valkyrie's missiles and launched his entire payload at the crippled hovercraft. But Zarion, in a final act of defiance, unleashed a salvo of his own. The two barrages passed each other in mid-air. Austin's missiles struck home, Zarion's ship vanishing in a sun-bright fireball. But the alien's plasma bolt slammed into the Valkyrie, frying systems and sending it into a death spiral, trailing smoke and fire. Warnings screamed, the ground rushing up to meet him. With a muttered curse, Austin yanked the eject lever. The canopy blew away and explosive bolts hurled him clear an instant before the Valkyrie augured into Zarion's burning wreckage. Both craft vanished in a cataclysmic blast that shook the city to its foundations. Amid the raining debris, Austin's parachute snapped open, lowering him to the cratered street. He hit hard, rolling to absorb the impact, then struggled free of his harness. All around, the mutant abominations lay dead or dying, inert without Zarion's command. Austin limped through the devastation to where his squad had made their stand. Battered, bloody, but alive, they emerged from cover, weary grins on their faces. The roar of engines filled the sky once more, but this time it was a friendly sound. Human dropships, emblazoned with the rod of Aselpius, the symbol of Dr. Hoffman's medical division. Over the comm, her voice crackled with relief and triumph. "Austin, we did it. The antidote is ready. There's hope for the Titans and for Earth." As the dropships touched down and medics rushed to aid the wounded, Austin allowed himself a grim smile. The battle was won, but the war raged on. As the dropships landed, Dr. Hoffman leapt out, antidote in hand. She raced to the fallen Titans, jabbing syringes into their thick hides. The beasts shuddered, then slowly stirred, life returning to their eyes. Austin watched, exhausted but determined, as the Titans rose, ready to fight once more. He turned to his battered squad. "This is it. One last push. We're taking the fight to them." Mounting the rejuvenated Titans, the human forces surged forward, smashing through the Andromedan lines. Plasma fire filled the air, but the Titans' armored hide deflected the blasts. They tore into the alien ranks, claws and teeth rending flesh and metal. Above, the human fleet engaged the Andromedan ships, fighters swarming like angry hornets. Explosions lit the sky as the battle raged. Austin urged his Titan onward, eyes fixed on the looming Andromedan mothership. "There," he shouted over the comm, "we breached the hull there." Rending a hole in the ship's armored side, Austin and his squad stormed the vessel, guns blazing. Andromedan soldiers fell before their onslaught. Fighting their way to the bridge, they confronted Janus, battered but defiant. The warlord sneered, "You're too late, humans. The Titan DNA is ours. Soon we will have an army of our own Warbeasts." "Not on my watch," Austin snarled. He lunged, slamming into Janus. They grappled, smashing through consoles in a hail of sparks. Around them, klaxons blared as the ship's systems went critical. Janus laughed, spitting blood. "You've doomed us both, fool. The ship is lost." Austin's eyes blazed with cold fury. "Then we go together." Seizing Janus, he hurled them both into the reactor core. The mothership exploded, a miniature sun blooming in the sky. The blast wave engulfed the remaining Andromedan ships, tearing them apart. On the ground, the humans cheered, raising their weapons in triumph. But the celebration was tinged with sorrow as they counted the cost of victory. Earth was safe but forever changed. The Titans, once a closely guarded secret, were now known to the galaxy, and Austin, the hero who had given everything to stop the Andromedan threat, was gone. But as the survivors looked to the stars, they knew one thing for certain. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever dangers the galaxy held, Earth would be ready. For they were the guardians of humanity, and they would never surrender. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.